Will you do machine learning if you're hired as a data scientist? Most likely, no. Are you still a data scientist, though, if you're not doing machine learning? Most likely, yes. At least according to just the biggest companies in the Western tech bubble with hundreds of millions or even billions of users with enormous amounts of data and a lot of applications for different types of data analysis, machine learning, AI, and general research. And that's because even though a lot of companies want to hire professionals in data with a lot of experiences from data engineering to machine learning and everything in between, most of the companies don't actually have the need for people to do machine learning and AI before they go through the 6 fundamental steps of the data hierarchy of needs. Now, this is a very commonly accepted concept of the data hierarchy of need, where the most fundamental things are, of course, having the telemetry, having the data, having the instrumentation, logging, sensors, having external data or user-generated content, then having reliable data flow, infrastructure, pipelines, ETL. For all those areas, usually companies hire data engineers first. Then there is a layer that's more related to analytics, so it's cleaning, maybe detecting some anomalies in data, preparing the data. Then it's deriving analytics and metrics, segmenting the data, aggregating the data according to the business needs and the questions that need to be answered. Then there is a level that's more commonly actually covered by data scientist professionals, and it's experimentation, advanced statistical concepts, simple machine learning algorithms that not necessarily go into production, but more serve as a means to answering the questions. And then only after those 5 levels are covered comes the AI, machine learning, and any advanced work with the data. Most of the companies in the world actually haven't covered the 5 fundamental layers of the data hierarchy of needs. And if then they hire data scientists, those are usually the people who will cover the bottom layers of the pyramid. Now I'm mostly talking about the companies that have something else as a product. So there are, of course, companies that have machine learning solutions as a product, and this is a little bit different. But most of the companies that don't have machine learning as the product need to go through those steps first before they can effectively and efficiently use machine learning to answer the right questions or maybe enhance their product they're building. And in that case, those won't be data scientists, those will be machine learning engineers. Now, in order for me to not just tell you my experience and my opinion, let's look at the actual real job openings in the FAANG companies in Facebook, Apple, Google, Amazon, and Netflix and see what they call data scientists and what they call something else, like machine learning engineers, for example. Let's start with Facebook. Here is one role that's called a data scientist, albeit there is a research in this title, so there is actually a chance that there will be some machine learning involved. Let's look at the requirements for this role. The qualifications are degrees in quantitative field, computer science, engineering, mathematics, statistics. That seems very common for a data scientist role. Years of experience doing quantitative analysis, experience with SQL, programming languages, that also sounds fair. Experience with statistical methods, forecasting, time series, hypothesis testing, that's also super common for data scientists. That is commonly accepted role in the big tech companies that work with user data. Experience developing production software systems, data pipelines, deploying machine learning models. Now here it goes both in the level of the data engineer and the machine learning engineer. We'll see what kind of responsibilities are there for this role. Experience answering big picture questions by framing the question, turning it into an action plan, analytical plan, executing and communicating to stakeholders. That also sounds like, project management flavor to this role, but I think maybe that's a senior because it's a senior. No, it's just a research. Okay. Research data scientist responsibilities. So identify how data science can be applied to improve, optimize, and expand Facebook infrastructure. Work cross-functionally as a strategic partner. Ensure coordination. That's a lot, again, of like implementing your soft skills, working as a project manager. Working with Python, R, and SQL, potentially building tools for data exploration and modeling. Sounds reasonable. Building scalable, pragmatic solutions to large-scale infrastructure problems, generalized methodologies for broad application. Actually, I'm not really sure what they mean here by that. Could be really anything. And provide technical mentorship to data scientists. So here it actually does not mention that you will be working on or implementing any AI or machine learning models. And based on my experience of my colleagues, this usually means that most of your work will be focused on understanding the data, getting the data, analyzing the data, applying statistical methods to answer the right questions. A lot of the work will entail working with stakeholders, explaining the results, doing presentations, doing pretty much project management for whatever research you're working on. Let's look at another role at Facebook as a data scientist and see if it's anything different. Data scientist, product analytics, again in California, working in one of their core products, so either Instagram Messenger or Facebook app, ads, whatever. Responsibilities. Apply your expertise in quantitative analysis, data mining, and the presentation of data. That goes beyond numbers. Partner with various types of teams, so with the product and engineering teams to solve the problems. Inform, influence, support, and execute product decisions and product launches. You'll have to work across the following areas, so product operations for forecasting, experimentation, so A/B testing, monitoring key product metrics, building dashboards and analyzing reports, building key data sets to empower analysis, evaluating and defining metrics, exploratory analysis, so impacting the roadmap of the product that you'll be working on, understanding the ecosystem and all the probable technical details of the product, user behaviors, long-term trends, identifying again new opportunities, building models of user behavior for analysis. That could potentially include some regression or machine learning. Then product leadership, that probably will be mostly, product management area. So yeah, presentations, communication, spreading best practices, again, communication, maybe documentation, talking to a lot of people, explaining a lot of things, and working with data infrastructure. So Hadoop and Hive, they don't have Google Cloud. Interesting. That will be very slow. Automating analysis, authoring pipelines sounds very reasonable. It does cover sort of everything from specifications of data engineer to data analyst to product manager and to machine learning, not engineer, maybe a researcher who works more with analyzing the data using different statistical methods. Qualifications that are required is degrees in quantitative disciplines, probably. Analytical work, complex quantitative analysis, querying, Python, R, statistical mathematical software, applied statistics or experimentation. That sounds very similar to, the most common generic role of a data scientist that you could see in multiple companies. Now let's look at the more machine learning heavy roles in Facebook. One of the examples is, for example, a research scientist who works in Facebook FAIR or Facebook AI research organization. So here probably your responsibilities, will be more closely related to working in, an academical way. If you did a PhD in machine learning, that will be very similar. So you'll need to lead research to advance the science and technology of intelligent machines. Again, lead research that enables learning and semantics of data. Probably the qualifications here, researcher position, publications in machine learning, AI, computer science, leading teams, manipulating, analyzing data. That's pretty much a baseline expectation. And here you are required to author publications and peer-reviewed AI conferences. So this role most likely will be more focused on machine learning. Let's look if they have machine learning engineer. Software engineer for machine learning. Let's check that out. The ideal person will have industry experience working on a range of classification optimization problems. Responsibilities are working on ML system design, ML excellence, whatever that is. Develop classifiers and tools leveraging machine learning, data regression, and rule-based models. So this actually is the role for you if you want to use machine learning frequently and consistently at your work, working with data. Let's look at another company, for example, Google. How do they call their data professionals? So they do have the data scientist role, and let's check out what does that mean if you work at Google. Here's one example, senior marketing data scientist for professional services. Maybe that's like their business services for different B2B solutions. So qualifications, bachelor's degree in, minimum qualifications is bachelor's degree in statistics, computer science, quantitative disciplines pretty much. A lot of years of experience in data science with focused on advanced analytics and statistical modeling or machine learning. Experience in Python or R. Let's check the responsibilities for this role. So lead analytics aspects of client engagement in the area of marketing effectiveness with deep knowledge of modeling, collaborate with clients, again, to build the machine learning framework. That probably means that clients will be implementing Google's machine learning solutions, and you should have, good understanding in this area to be able to support them, but not necessarily, most likely you won't be the one who will be implementing the solution. Work with clients and internal team to translate data and model results into tactical and strategic insights that are clear, accurate, complete, understandable, and applicable to decision making. That sounds very similar to a product data scientist role where you are doing analytics, advanced analytics to provide, support for the decision making, doing presentations, working with clients, collaborating with product and engineering teams, again, as in Facebook. You're working closely with various different stakeholders, and you probably need to explain to them a lot of what you've done in your work and create relationship pretty much with your different stakeholders. Let's look at some other Google data scientist role. What do they have? Business data scientist at Google, also in California, quantitative discipline degree, years of experience with statistical modeling, hypothesis testing, experience with machine learning, PhD in quantitative discipline is a preferred qualification. Okay, let's see the responsibilities. Collect, cleanse, integrate, data mine, and visualize a variety of internal and external data resources. So again, as in the first version or first option of the Facebook data scientist role, you are sort of a data engineer and data analyst, and also you have to present your results. So you're working a lot with different kind of stakeholders that have different skill set and different level of understanding of different, statistical methods and concepts. Understanding business challenges, usually very important for the data scientist role. Transforming problems into mathematical frameworks, yes. Designing experiments, develop statistical models, building causal inference tool. That sounds very similar to what you will do as a data scientist in most places. Build data science and machine learning frameworks and help launch them into production. Answer business questions through data analysis, data mining, and statistical modeling. In my experience, this role will mostly focus on those areas where you collect, cleanse data and answer business questions and also understand business challenges. And then if you're lucky and persistent enough, you will be able to use your knowledge that you gained in university that's focused on more advanced statistical concepts to answer your question. But most commonly, as Occam's razor concept says, the simplest solution is usually the easiest one, and then you have business pressure, so you have little time to do the researchy part of this work and try different variants, try different solutions, and implementing different models. Let's also check some roles at Netflix. Here we have a senior data scientist for algorithm experimentation, causal inference. Let's see what are their responsibilities. So you have to lead the design, analysis, and interpretation of experiments, a lot of A/B testing to shape decision making, proactively perform data exploration, understand user behavior, drive innovation by developing new experimentation methodologies, statistical techniques, causal inference approaches, research new measurements and frameworks to enable understanding of the emergent phenomena, so impact of various behaviors on Netflix viewing, and present your research and finding to all levels of the company. That sounds very similar to the most common data scientist role definition out there. You are required to have an advanced degree in statistics, econometrics, computer science, or physics, or related quantitative fields. That's also very common for data scientists. Proven track record of leveraging massive amounts of data, deep statistical skills, A/B testing, analysis, observation data, modeling, experience with distributed analytics, strong programming skills. That all sounds very familiar and very similar to roles in other companies that work with the user behavior data. Now let's check if Netflix has something for machine learning roles. And here is one example. So it's a senior research scientist, so not called data scientist, but more research scientist, probably focused on machine learning. Here there are requirements for ML research experience in academia or industry. Communication skills, again, those are really important. And here they also mentioned the tools that they are working with for building and product pipelining machine learning models. Maybe here is a proper role responsibility. So you will have the opportunity to drive and execute bleeding edge research in a variety of topics, graph learning, causal inference, next gen recommender systems. So pretty much, I guess, the systems that personalize the Netflix browse page, Netflix viewing pages for all the different kinds of users. You will work cross-functionally with engineering product to prototype, test, and implement your research. You might work with machine learning engineers who will implement your research findings into production and actually ship it into the Netflix apps and product. So as you can see, the definition of a data scientist role has some similar qualities. There's usually experimentation, deep statistical understanding. Usually there is a requirement to have a degree in quantitative discipline, but not all of them require machine learning, and most of them actually don't focus on doing machine learning alone. Now, I know quite a few colleagues that started as data scientists and worked a lot with product, with data understanding, data pipelining, and then on their own initiative, they were pitching to their managers the value of doing some machine learning research or applying these methods to, recommend something in the app that they're working on, or to rank certain things using machine learning to like personalize experience in some way. When they did that, that was their sort of initiative, and they were interested in doing machine learning within their role. So they started as data scientists but moved on to become machine learning engineers or researchers, and that's not uncommon. If you're working in a company that values your development, your career, your interest, wants you to grow as a professional, in that case, it's not uncommon that you can do something that's not stated in your role description. But so far, as you can see, most of the data scientist roles focus on understanding the business, understanding the data, doing a lot of things starting from data engineering to advanced analytics to project management, product management, or some machine learning in some cases. It's not the main focus of the data scientist role. And I think what I want to emphasize here the most is that title doesn't matter as much as requirements for the role and the responsibilities that you will have. So nobody should expect to be hired as a data scientist in, I don't know, the wide variety of the companies that are out there and just do the same thing everywhere. It's up to the company to name the role. And if you are hired as a data scientist into some company with a good reputation, then you are a data scientist. If you're hired as a machine learning engineer, then you're a machine learning engineer, and so on. Don't just look at the label, look at the ingredients of the role that you're interested in. If it's unclear what the role entails, talk to the recruiter, talk to the hiring manager, talk to the peers and ask them what they do most in their work, what they're focusing on, what kind of opportunities are available for them. It's not just about how the job is called, but it's mostly about what you will be doing in this job. Now, if you want to educate yourself on the wide variety of different data roles, I really recommend to you reading blogs by Cassie Kozyrkov. She's a chief decision scientist, I think, at Google, and she has fantastic blogs where she kind of avoids using the term data scientist, but instead talks about very, very, very different roles on various levels of the data hierarchy of needs and their value to the company, the types of tasks they're doing. So I'm going to link those blogs below. And also, I recently noticed a video by a fellow YouTuber called Damsel in Data on what kind of different flavors of data scientists there are. I liked how she structured those roles into 3 different categories. So the research focused, the business focused, and the development focused. And that kind of aligns with, being a data engineer, data scientist, and machine learning engineer or machine learning researcher. So I will link her video also down below. Go check her out and give her a thumbs up. She is doing a great job. In general, I feel like there might be a misconception of what you're going to do as a data scientist for a lot of recent graduates from some data scientist specializations where potentially some of the areas of their master degrees were focused on doing machine learning and they expect all the roles at, say, data science to entail doing machine learning, but that's not actually the reality of the market. Market does not need as many machine learning engineers yet because a lot of companies are not at the state where they can effectively use machine learning. So the point that I want to emphasize once again is that the title doesn't matter as much as the work that you will be doing. Don't hesitate to ask a lot of questions. Don't hesitate to ask for examples of recent projects that the team that you want to get hired into was working on. It's really important so that you don't feel frustrated because you thought that the role mean one thing and it actually means something else. So it's not about how you're going to be called. It's not about being a data scientist. It's about what you're going to do, or doing data science, doing data analysis, doing machine learning. I actually have a video on that as well, why I think it's important to think about what you're going to be doing rather than who you're going to be called. So go check that out as well. And thank you for watching and have a nice day.